In Animal Crossing, who is the real face behind Zipper T. Bunny? This is a question that has rocked the Animal Crossing community ever since this guy first appeared in Animal Crossing City Folk, but even more so when he haunted all of our islands in Animal Crossing New Horizons right after the game first launched, and to this day a lot of us still hold a lot of resentment for this guy. And there's been a lot of theories over the years as to who is really inside of the Zipper T. Bunny suit. Even Matt Pat from Game Theory had a pretty plausible argument, but even then, I'm still not 100% convinced. So maybe we should take a closer look at Zipper T. Bunny and try to come up with a conclusion once and for all as what is going on with this character. And I think what we will end up concluding today is maybe quite a bit different from what you would suspect. Let's back up a little bit. In 2020, right after Animal Crossing released, Matt Pat uploaded this video on his channel Game Theory, not only debunking some of the more popular Zipper T. Bunny theories, but going into a much deeper and darker route to draw an interesting conclusion. So yeah, firstly, we knock out the theory that it is Phyllis from the older Animal Crossing games, as these characters can be seen at the same time in some occasions. And similarly, we can throw out the Tom Nook theory as well for the same reasons. So then we get into Matt Pat's core argument for the theory, looking at different little pieces of evidence, like the color of carnation that your dad sends you on Father's Day in-game, to the translations in various different countries for the character Zipper T. Bunny, what those translations are based on, and how that relates into a possible lore for Zipper T. Bunny, concluding eventually that through the translations and the Father's Day flowers, that there's room to speculate that Zipper T. Bunny is actually the villager's father, just trying to help their kid succeed. And here's one thing I really like about Game Theory, is that we can see some really crazy theories when it comes to video games like this one, and a lot of the time they're solid in the fact that these interesting premises still fit within the world building and lore that's established in the video game. There's nothing specifically wrong with Matt Pat's theory that can outright or just simply be thrown out. That's part of the fun of the channel and part of the reason why these theories are actually so much fun to watch. But is that really the story that Nintendo has set up for Zipper T. Bunny? Let's be honest. Just the whole character arc of your villager's dad being forced to live out his days in a bunny costume to help his son or daughter in one way or another is a little bit of a reach for what Nintendo would likely do with their characters. It's a fun theory to think about in the same way that Game Theory's videos about Mario being a sociopath are fun to think about, but there's no actual documentation at Nintendo where they're like, you know, we're gonna purposely make Mario a sociopath in the existing lore of the universe, and that's the character biography we have to make sure we form the games into moving forward. Matt Pat does a great job at stacking up all of this evidence and creating a realistic theory that we can all get behind and support, but it's not actually a representation of what Nintendo's intentions are with the character. Not to say Nintendo is completely against going into darker storytelling avenues, but especially when it comes to Animal Crossing, when there's opportunities to do some really weird and interesting things, typically speaking, things end up staying a little bit more lighthearted, even though there are some darker stories that are in Animal Crossing for sure. So we need to step back and take a look at the character Zipper itself, and we look at it from the perspective of how Nintendo creates a lot of the special event characters or just villagers in general for Animal Crossing. The character behind Zipper, while still very interesting, is a lot different than maybe it's been painted by a lot of theorists on YouTube. Let's start by going back to the beginning when Zipper was first introduced into Animal Crossing. When City Folk originally released, the game already had enough criticism for not being different enough from Animal Crossing Wild World. Sure, they added a little city, which was cool, but overall, a lot of the day-to-day experiences were pretty much right out of the same type of experiences you would have from Animal Crossing Wild World, with a few exceptions. In a way of differentiating itself from Wild World and adding more events and more holidays, 2 new events were added to the game. Festivale, where Pave was introduced, the peacock that we see around February. And then, of course, Zipper T Bunny, who is introduced for Bunny Day, which is, of course, Animal Crossing's replacement for Easter. And these characters were joining the cast of other special holiday event characters that were already established in the older Animal Crossing games. But in one way or another, the characters introduced for each event is very heavily related and inspired by the holiday itself that it's representing. Jingle being a hybrid of Santa Claus and a reindeer. We got Jack, who's literally a walking jack-o'-lantern. Nobody seems to question this one, who represents Halloween. And these were kind of just the main holiday event type things that were tied to more of this celebration of real-world holidays, and they were all at the end of the year. There were other summer events that would show up in the older Animal Crossing games, but the first part of the year always was kind of the slower part of events and holidays when it came to Animal Crossing games. So it made sense for them to fill some of these pockets a little bit more, and that's where they introduced Pave, which is right around the same time of the real United States Mardi Gras and Carnival Day worldwide. And then we get to Zipper T Bunny, who is introduced for the Animal Crossing Day, Bunny Day. Obviously, to avoid conflict by having religious overtones in Animal Crossing and the backlash of them introducing a Jesus Christ character, Nintendo went the route of utilizing one of the biggest mascots known for representing Easter beyond anything related to religion, and probably had some fun with this character as well. Yeah, in media, there's not really that many large representation of Easter rabbits. I mean, there's chocolates and stuff that have bunny shapes to them, but when you think of an Easter rabbit, the first thing that really comes to mind if you're trying to visualize it is probably those creepy Easter bunnies that were at malls across America, North America, and probably in some places in Europe and Australia as well. I mean, these guys are terrifying. I don't know, there was always something much more magical and fantastical about some other holidays like Santa Claus and the North Pole, and there was so many different storybooks and cartoons to draw inspiration from, but when you're trying to think of the Easter Bunny, you just come back to this weird mall thing over and over again. So I think Nintendo went the route, obviously, of turning that into a joke, creating the character Zipper, which literally is a suit itself, and then write the character in a way that it highly resembles a disgruntled mall Easter bunny who's maybe not too fond of having to be in the suit all day. My theory here is genuinely, when it comes from Nintendo's perspective of writing this character, there is nobody inside of the suit. Or the suit is the character itself. Zipper might make little notes like, hey, don't pull the zipper on my suit. It's not that Zipper's trying to hide its identity, but that is its identity, and the whole Zipper name and play really just adds this extra level and layer to the joke and mystery of the character. Sure, this explanation might not be as creepy or as marketable as the idea of some dark story hidden in the depths of Animal Crossing, but I genuinely think that that is the intention that Nintendo was going for when creating this character and not anything much darker. But there's also more evidence to really back up the fact that Zipper is in fact the character, even if that's not as fun of an answer to this theory. When Zipper is talking, the mouth of Zipper does move. Zipper claims on multiple occasions that he is not in a suit and that he is, in fact, the bunny itself, even if villagers make jokes about him being some other person in a suit. That is the point of the joke. The only other argument that could be made here is that if Zipper is in fact still a costume despite all of this, because they do make plays on the fact that there's this mystery behind whether or not there is a person or a character in the costume, it would likely be a character that we've never seen before if that ever does become explored down the road. But even if Zipper's character isn't a real bunny, but a bunny costume, it's not the first time an inanimate object has become a character in Animal Crossing lore. We could look at Jack once again, which we still don't know what's going on with this. There's Snow People. There's Farley, that was only introduced in the original Animal Crossing game on the GameCube for localization versions of the game, not the original N64 and Japanese release. And we don't even know what he is. And there's of course robot villagers. So having an inanimate object have some sort of speaking or character role isn't at least unheard of. So I think Zipper T Bunny is a bunny costume that is a character. And I think that while not as exciting as MatPat's theory that there's some long-lost father inside of the suit of a bunny rabbit, it's probably the most accurate theory when it comes to what Nintendo is willing and not willing to actually do with its own characters. But I am open for debate on this. If you disagree with me, let's get into the discussions in the comment section down below. Also, if you're new, maybe consider subscribing to this channel, as I want to cover more things Animal Crossing and Nintendo related in the future, and you can check out my other videos I've done on Animal Crossing topics, because there's some goodies on this channel already, and it would really mean the world if you went through and gave this channel a shot. Thanks for watching, we'll see you all next time.